with that, let's go ahead and get into the software itself. Now, for those of you that are brand new to Bluebeam Revu, that's totally fine. Again, I'm just going to do a cursory overview. If you do have additional questions, a great starting point is actually our help menu, because we have not only feature helps and keyboard shortcuts and all sorts of stuff like that, but under this resources tab, under resources, if you click on it, it actually takes you to the Bluebeam website with all the different feature videos. Now, these videos are fantastic because they're about 3 to 8 minutes long, and it walks you through each of the specific little features that can then be strung together for specific workflows and things like that. So if you see something again and you have any additional questions, just kind of note down what you'd like to look for, and we can go ahead and address those with the several hundred videos that we have on here. Okay, that being said, as you'll see, I was clicking through the command bar at the top, or the ribbon as some people call it, to get to the help menu, but there are several other options here. For example, my markup tools, my measurement tools, things like that. Now, dependent on what version of the software you have, these may be a little bit different. So just be aware that if you don't see a certain item, such as form, that's not an issue, that's just this specific version of the software that you may be in. So beyond that, the command bar is kind of the central location, or kind of my default of where I go to get at certain features. The other item that I want to really highlight is this orange triangle here. This is my tab access, and this gives me access to all of the panels or the different features that are housed within the software. So if I don't know where something's at, I can always default back to this orange triangle, and I can get to, for example, my search functions or my file access, and be able to access all those items directly from here. So for example, I select file access, and it will pop up in this left-hand panel. And this will basically kind of be my history or records list of all the files that I've gotten at quite frequently, as well as any sort of files that I may kind of default back to or want to save to my favorites list. So if I want to save something, I can always just select this little pin icon, and I can go ahead and pin it to, for example, a new category, and it will show up within that list. I can always come back and add to those items. If I don't see something in this list, I can hop over to my File Explorer, which would take me to my computer, to my C drive essentially, or I can come back to my Windows Explorer via the Open menu. Beyond that, we do have 3 panels. So there was obviously the one on the left that we were in originally. There's one on the right, which has some interest, like settings and things like that, as well as Studio, which we'll get into toward the end. And then the bottom, which is essentially my spreadsheet, that we'll highlight a little bit, but essentially that is housing all of the data that I'm placing on the page. Who's the author, what date and time was this placed, things like that, any additional commentary, all of that can be included down here and start being applied to workflows. So with that, I do want to dive back into the tab access, and we'll start talking about first the thumbnails panel. So for example, in this particular case, this is a one-sheet document, and so you'll notice I only have one sheet over here in the thumbnails panel. I can always increase or decrease the views that I have here using the plus and minus button. But if, for example, I have a multi-page document, such as a specification, go ahead and open that file here. And I can scroll through this file, and you'll notice that I kind of have a preview list of this entire document. This is only 7 pages currently, but I can see all of those and kind of get a preview of what's on the page before I jump to that particular location. Now you'll also notice that both of those files are open in the same instance of Revu, and so I kind of have a web browser version where I can jump to and from those particular documents all within the same interface. I don't have to close one instance of Revu to hop back into another one or anything like that. Now, in this case, I'm in what's called the simple profile. So if you've gotten into the software and yours looks a little different, and you have some additional like toolbars and things here on the right-hand side as well as across the top, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and shift profile so you can see that. But again, I'm starting in the simple profile to give everyone kind of a baseline. So under the View command bar here at the top, I have this blue guy with the bow tie. And this will allow me to kind of set whatever interface I'd like, and this is kind of based on some certain starting points or particular workflows that we see quite frequently. Now you can always start with one of these and go ahead and continue to customize. I'm going to hop into the design review profile, but a lot of people will actually see the advanced profile off the bat because that's kind of actually the default setting. So if you see a whole bunch of toolbars like that, that's quite all right. You can always just come back to this drop down here and select whichever profile you would prefer. Now you'll notice in this case I have some toolbars here on the right hand side. If I would like to add additional profiles or toolbars, I can always come up to under View the toolbar list and be able to add, for example, my text features and things like that, and add those directly to the interface. Now if I want to remove them, I just deselect those check boxes and they will disappear. You'll also notice that I have some different navigation functions here at the bottom that were not here in the simple profile. For example, what I'd like to do, any sort of document properties or securities, turning the page, zoom, stuff like that, as well as a neat little function to be able to split my screen. So for example, I can go ahead and split my screen and have two different documents open at the same time and navigate them independently. It's a very neat function, so I can go ahead and, again, kind of cross-reference these different files and have as many files as I like open and kind of have a split screen even though I'm working on one monitor.